Hey guys, Lance Martin, Coldwell Banker Town & Country and the Martin Group. Welcome to our April 2025 Real Estate Market Snapshot. Another month is in the books, and here we go. Same as always, here's our QR code. All the stuff that we posted up for the last several years is there. Let's jump right in. Southern California market, what's going on? Where are we? Starting with median price in the 4 counties. Basically, stable. Okay, if you go through and you click into the 15-year chart, click on the link below, you got access to all this. You can play with it if you want. Prices basically were stable. LA County a little bit up, Orange County a little bit up, LA County a little bit down, Riverside, San Bernardino basically flat. If I'm just looking at the very tail end of those charts there, but that was month over month. Year over year, we've been steady Eddie now for, I don't know, almost a year or so. 4% up, 7.5%, 1.6, 6.8. All of those numbers are bouncing around. This is March 2025 compared to March 2024. Last month, you could have just taken these numbers and just juggled them up. They all would have been positive, but somewhere between 1 and 6 or 7% on the appreciation side. So nice and boring. Super stable. This is what we've been hoping for coming out of our crazy COVID years of the 20% appreciation year over year. But basically prices are stable and up, low to mid single digits from 2024 to 2025 for the month of March. So that's a wonderful thing. New listings for the month of March. Again, I've got these gigantic charts over here where we had a lot of listings. We're still down here on the low side, but listing inventory for new listings. These are listings that hit the market in the month of March 2025. They were up across the board, which is what we want, month over month. And they were also up across the board year over year, March to March of 2024. 8%, 20% in Los Angeles County, 14.5% and 14%, 13.9% in San Bernardino. So these are all good numbers. So the listing inventory in March 2025 ticked up quite a bit, and frankly, if you want to compare it to March of 2024, these are your percentages, all nice, basically kind of high single digits. Everything else is 13 to 20% increase in March new listings. That's what we want. So again, prices up to stable, new listings up to stable, all the listing inventory, all of the months combined, not just last month. Again, I've got my down arrow over here, so if you want to compare it to, the 2008, 2009, which is a whole different conversation, listings are way down. But again, the active inventory across the board, all listings, this is stuff that came on the market last month, and everything that had already been on the market that hasn't sold. And again, but look at these numbers. These are huge increases. This is generally good, but it can be a little troublesome if you happen to be in this category. I'll elaborate that a little bit more. 35% more listings in March 2025 than March 2024 in Orange County. Again, 36.5%. Almost 29% in LA County. 27% in Riverside County. 30% in San Bernardino County. Those are big numbers. So people are a little bit concerned about this because the listings are coming onto the market. They're not selling quite as fast. We're stacking them up a little bit. But hey, like I've been saying for months now, we've been griping about low inventory levels. Those inventory levels are starting to backfill. And honestly, even though these are big percent year over year numbers, you got to remember last year's numbers were small. So even though these are 36, 30, 29%, whatever it happens to be, they're bigger numbers, bigger percentage on a smaller number from the prior year. So I like this. I love the fact that we have new listings and all the listing inventory is building. Here I am now for probably going on a year now, the part that I don't like, and again, it's the opposite side of the coin. It can be a little concerning. The pending sales continue to be at record lows. Buyers and sellers actually coming together, which in part is why the inventory is building. We're not selling as many houses. So what does it all mean? Just like we had, by the way, that should not be bouncing up in there. Ignore that little chart up there bouncing behind me. The pending sales year over year, 30% down, 25% down, 8% in Riverside County, 18.6% in San Bernardino County. So again, we're still not bringing enough buyers and sellers together compared to a year ago. I briefly was talking to Adam, our videographer, before we started, said how things are going. I was at a big Coldwell Banker event with all my brethren last week, and I'm hearing about how awesome everything is. Oh, everything's great, the market's improving. Nonsense. It's improving, but compared to what? Okay, if you're going to compare it to a month ago, yeah, sure, this month is better than last month, but the numbers are really, really difficult from a standpoint of the number of transactions being sold. And again, all you got to do is look at this. 18 to 30% fewer transactions than 1 year ago. And again, a year ago wasn't great. So the inventory is building, which is great, but the buyers and sellers are still struggling on getting together and open up escrows. The days on market, though, are still reasonable. That's why I'm not concerned about this. Forget about the percentages, 22%, 15%, 26%, and 35%. Those are increases on days on market. Those are big jumps. But when you actually look at the number, 11 days in Orange County, 15 days in LA, 29 days in Riverside, and 23 days in San Bernardino. Those are average days on market. So you list today, you're priced right. That's how quickly these properties are going under contract. It's still a very, very small number, even though it's higher than what it was before. So I'm not worried when I see that. Now the month supply does start to kind of get me a little bit, paying a little closer to attention. I've been looking at this month supply of inventory a little heavier, probably the last 3 or 4 months. As the sales are still struggling and the inventory is building, well, what happens when sales struggle and inventory builds? The month supply goes up. LA, Orange County is still basically nothing, less than 3 months. LA County, 3.5. But you look at Riverside, San Bernardino County, inventory is increasing. We now have 4.2 months supply of inventory in Riverside, San Bernardino County. That may not sound like a lot, but compared to where we've been, that's a lot. I mean, it was 2 years ago, that number was 2 weeks supply of inventory. But what was happening then? We're getting multiple offers on everything. Prices are escalating somewhat out of control, and things were being sold immediately. Well, now we're balancing out a little bit. So again, that month supply number is certainly increasing a little bit. I said Menifee. This is not Menifee. I'll adjust this slide. This is Rancho Cucamonga. So my spotlight city, I forgot to modify it. If you want to see Menifee, by the way, it's at the end of the slide deck. You can go take a look at it. But the numbers I'm going to show you here are for Rancho. So our spotlight city this month is Rancho Cucamonga. Look at the price march. This is a 15-year chart. $875,000 in Rancho Cucamonga median price at the end of March of 2025. It's a little bouncy here, but at the end of the day, it was still up last month. But that's 12.6% higher than it was a year ago. So even though you got a little bit of volatility on this EKG here for the last 12 months, 12% higher if you live in Rancho. Either if you're going to buy, if you would have bought last year, you would have bought for 12.6% less. If you own a house this year, you own 12.6% more market value than you did a year ago. So honestly, it's a great number if you live in Rancho. I still like the 5 or 6%. It just seems like that's healthier. But at any rate, that's our median price. Active listings in Rancho are up 44%. So take Rancho. I do these spotlight cities just to compare and contrast what we did in the county. So if you take a look at Rancho, they're actually, I don't know if you want to call it outperforming or not, but these are active listings in the city of Rancho, March this year compared to March last year, up 44%. Again, but it's not a big number compared to what? Compared to, almost 1,000 listings in 2008. Maybe that's a bad example. How about we go to a little bit more of a stable market? How about 2016, 2017? 400 listings. Now, last month, they had a total of 144 listings on the market. Not a lot of homes to choose from in Rancho, which is probably why you're seeing a median sales price above $895. This is the pending side, though. Look what happened in Rancho in the pendings. Again, record low pending sales in Rancho. That number is down. Let's go back a slide. New listings, let's go back 2 slides. Price is up almost 13% year over year. New listings up 44% year over year. Pending sales down 28% year over year. Rancho lines up with pretty much everything we just showed you on the Riverside, LA, Orange, and San Bernardino County. Inventory up, prices up, but the pending sales are still struggling. In the entire city of Rancho Cucamonga last month, 50 houses sold. 50 houses. So again, good news, bad news. You know, the prices are up, the selection of homes is up, but again, we're still not getting quite enough buyers and sellers to come together. This is the market conditions that we've been talking about now for almost 2 years. I said about a year, but it's actually almost 2 years. So what's going on with interest rates? What's going on with the 10-year bond in 2025? So, by the way, today is April 7th. President Trump been talking about his tariffs. He put his tariffs in place on April 2nd, so we're 5 days in. We came through the weekend. The stock market's freaking out. The bond market's freaking out. I don't know anything about any of that. Talk to the experts on the stock market and the bond market, but I do track the bond market a lot because the 10-year bond tracks mortgage rates, kinda. And depending upon what the 10-year bond does will indicate whether mortgage rates are going to rise or whether mortgage rates are going to fall. Just in the last 48 hours, not counting the weekend. So let's take last Friday, which I guess would have been April 4th, and today, which is April, or maybe April 5th, I don't know, and today, which is April 6th, we have seen ridiculous swings in the 10-year bond. So as a matter of fact, I texted Chris Thornburg today. I said, dude, what's up with the 10-year bond? His response to me is, do you not listen to a word I say, Lance? Because frankly, Chris, his forecast is higher for longer when it comes to 30-year fixed mortgage rates, okay? And he's been that way for at least the foreseeable past. So the reason I point out the 10-year bond, this I don't know what it closed at today. This was this morning, April 7th at around 10 o'clock in the morning. The 10-year bond was at 4.1 and interest rates were, you know, if you just kind of smooth them out, at 6.75%. On Friday, the 10-year bond was below 4% and the interest rates were down below 6.5%. Okay, the day before the 10-year bond was up at 4.2 and interest rates, frankly, were closer to what this number is right here. So there's a lot of volatility going on out there. I have no idea what the future holds, other than it appears as though where at least we've been for the last week, interest rates basically have been unchanged, even though there's been a lot of volatility over the last 5 days with the tariffs that are in place. What that's going to look like a week from now or a month from now, I have no idea. All I'm doing is I'm looking at the 10-year bond and how that affects mortgage rates. So interestingly enough, I've been showing this slide here for a couple months now. This is Wells Fargo's forecast at 6.5% interest rates. If you had locked in a mortgage rate, and by the way, you could probably lock in a mortgage rate today better than 6.5. There's a whole bunch of factors in there, but I'm just kind of smoothing everything out on an average level. But last week, this rate was between 6 3/4 and 7%. It's been that way on and off for about a month or so. Last Friday, it was 6.5%. Today, it's back up to 6.75. So again, connect with your mortgage professional, which by the way, that's not me, but reach out to me. I will connect you with somebody who knows what they're doing on my team that can help you on the mortgage side, whether it's a purchase or a refi. But this 6.5% mortgage rate still seems to be where I think we're going to be settling out, irrespective of what the stock market does and what the tariffs do and all the madness and hysteria that tends to be going around with that. And you can take madness and hysteria and you can put that on either side of the ledger. So anyway, I'm still feeling that our 6.5 rate seems to be sticking. This is our 10-year chart on interest rates. Again, kind of the same thing. If we can stay below that 7%, we seem to be unfreezing a little bit. Having said that, the pending sales still aren't showing that. But this is April. If pending sales are going to increase, buyers and sellers coming together, now seems to be the time to do it. This is the season, April, May, June, maybe July, as far as buyers and sellers coming together. So we can keep those interest rates somewhere below 7. Again, I know lots of the buyers in our office have been locking in rates in the low 6s and maybe even in the high 5s, depending on the type of financing they're doing. So the rates have improved. So if you find a house out there, more to choose from, maybe now's your opportunity to get out there and take a peek. So that's where we are with rates. My forecast hasn't really changed, regardless of the drama in the media right now. Again, the stock market, I pay no attention to the stock market unless I believe it's going to affect the bond market. In theory, falling stock prices should basically be favorable to the bond market. which would mean interest rates would improve. Well, that's not exactly happening right now. But at any rate, I still think we're going to end our year. Prices up, inventory up. We're seeing that already, by the way. Inventory's up. Sales volume up, but again, we haven't seen that yet. We have not seen an increase in sales volume. Those pending sales are still struggling. So we'll see where we end up the year. And again, mortgage rates, again, 6.5 seems to be where we're settling in. So at any rate, that is my market snapshot for the month of April. If you keep on clicking on this slide deck, all of the individual market spotlights or city spotlights are in there as well. If you need any help buying, selling, property management, Lance Martin, Coldwell Banker Town and Country, and the Martin Group, also Cobalt Property Management, we are here to help. Have yourself a great April, and we'll see you next month.